it's going to be my turn on this one.
All right, that's fair enough.
Michael Ferraro, LLA, leading lifestyle agency, here with Culture Matters, Jay Doran. And he's been asking a lot of questions here in my office, so I'm going to take the role for a minute.
How many hours have I been talking straight?
I think we're on 6 or 7 at this point. I don't know.
Feels like it. Ouch.
I'm going to ask some of the questions. So this one is all about you.
Okay.
Tell everybody a little bit about, and I know I could say, well, who is Jay Doran? That's so broad.
I think my therapist is confused.
You're right. Well, I'll take the bill on that one, no worries. Right. So tell everybody a little bit about where Jay Doran, the human being, started.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I usually start in 1941 when Joe and Maria got married. And Joe beat Maria like every day. Or enough for it to be talked about years later. They had 3 kids, 3 women, Linda, Bernadette, and Denise. And at 18, Linda, the youngest, moved out and unfortunately had been drinking since 7
years old.
7 years old. So they're Joe and Maria's daughter, Linda, have been drinking since 7 and drugs at 12.
Yeah.
Moved out. Ended up seemingly getting their life together, going to college, becoming a nurse. But a couple divorces later, a few abortions later, miscarriages later, she had a 8-pound, 6-ounce baby boy in 1991.
Named Jay.
Wait, you think that I'm talking about me? Yeah. So okay, you ruined it. Jeez, I was trying to be dramatic.
Sorry.
No, but you got to know your story, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate Linda. I love Linda. And I have not met Linda since I was like 3.
Okay.
But I can tell you that Linda, who struggled with schizophrenia and bipolar and manic disorder and had an episode and the mafia was chasing her and had to drop me off at the police station, that was the best thing that ever happened for me. Mm-hmm. And for anyone that I've ever been able to touch since, because I think my whole life since finding out about that story now 25 years later, right, last year, the whole story, growing up in the basement of a big house. I got adopted at 3 months by a wonderful woman named Barbara Luongo, who's like in her 70s, lives in North Jersey. And growing up in this big house where my mom, Barbara, who now has adopted me, took care of me. Everything she could give me, she did. All the love she could give me, but not feeling, honestly, like able to accept it. And seeing her work so hard, right? Seeing her work so hard, but not to much means, because we lived in the basement, which is a nice basement, but in the basement of this big house. And seeing my uncle, or her brother-in-law, do real estate, and invest in real estate, and have all this wealth and this success, knowing that he came from Italy off a boat.
Yeah.
I just always had this drive to get upstairs, I guess you could say.
Sure.
So that's why in the upcoming book that I have coming out on my story and all these, everything that happened to get me to where I am today, poor mom, rich uncle,
right.
Metaphorically speaking, like Barbara adopted me, she had a poor mindset, a good heart, big heart.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be my rich uncle. So I was always the entrepreneur. And that's my backstory, like,
that's so interesting. So
I know, that's heavy, it's a lot of stuff.
That. I mean, that's very real, but let me unpack that for you. Let me ask you a question. So, you're 3 when you get adopted, right? How old were you when you consciously knew what...
Well, 3 months.
3 months. Okay, so how old were you when you found out that you were adopted? Or did you start to consciously know that?
Yeah, it was always transparent. So because people ask, they say you shouldn't tell them, or should you tell them?
Correct.
I always knew. My mom, Barbara, she's always been a very upfront person.
Right.
She's always been an upfront person. She's always said it exactly like it is, and so I knew growing up. I always knew it. I don't know. I study a lot of psychology, but I don't know enough to know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. I appreciate that she was always honest with me.
Did it change? Did it change at all? You growing up? Did it affect growing up in a way that where you held it against anybody? Did you ever have a chip on your shoulder?
I know. So that's like. So I can't say specifically. Was that the one variable, or could that have been one of many to make me feel some type of way towards my mother? However, how could it not?
Did you have anger there?
the first chapter, shit, I must have did a good job explaining my story because the first chapter of the book is anger. Right? The first chapter of the book, it can be called anger or resentment or shame or whatever. Like anger, resentment. By 7, 8, 9, I mean, we had stopped even telling each other we loved each other. It was it became an odd relationship.
This is with Barbara.
Yeah. But I was angry. I acted out. I beat kids up on the playground in kindergarten. I remember not being able to go outside for a year because I kicked this kid in the face. I don't even know why. I mean, you're in first grade. Why do you kick someone in the face? You kick someone in the face because you're angry, because you aren't aware of things.
Okay.
So how could it not? But I was.
And then when you
it was weird because everyone was very loving.
So it was a weird displaced. You didn't really know what to do with that anger, kind of. And then so how did that affect you? Would say when you got into high school, the relationship with Barbara, and then your outward relationship with
yeah. Okay, so a lot of you think, shit, this guy Cameron, you must be someone that always was outwardly like loquacious and outgoing, and think that you're open. You could just tell everybody your life story. No, man, I was a shy, intimidated, insecure kid. Growing up, I started to gain weight. Then I remember like sitting down. I wasn't like a really heavy kid, but just fat enough where it mattered. Like, just grabbing my fat, like I hate myself. Yeah. It's a terrible thing to think when you're like 10. Well, if you don't think your kids are thinking that, you got a problem. You better talk to them.
Yeah.
No one talked to me.
Yeah.
So what did I do? We could say, oh, maybe it's because you lived in the basement and like your uncle worked so hard, maybe you modeled his behavior. I went to work. I started working out at 12. Now I started getting identified with as the kid that works out. So now, because I don't feel like I get real love from home, and not that she wasn't trying. I don't think it's her problem. She tried. Talk about me, right? I'm not putting this on her. She's awesome. Barbara was a great mom. She gave me everything. She made me very selfish. She gave me everything possible. Right? I'm selfish. I was very selfish growing up. Only child. But not feeling that, I started identifying that 12, 13, 14, 15 with the working out. And then I became the motivational workout kid. That's it. I'm grateful for that. Right? I've been practicing this motivational speaking since I was 11.
So this came kind of as you found your identity through working out, that you found that confidence, and then you...
Well, so I would say I didn't find my identity through working out. It became a false identity.
Okay.
And that by 18, I'm still shy. I just look like, at that point, a fitness model or, whatever.
How long did you hold that anger with Barbara?
Dude, 21 years old, I went to this personal development seminar. So it's funny. John Maxwell says it wasn't the growth kit he bought when he started coaching. It was that he got started. But so John Maxwell's like 100 books on leadership. I got started at 21. I had already been reading and stuff, but not heavy, right? But at 21, I went to this seminar called Landmark Forum. 3 days, and it makes you just have what they call transformative experience, transformative learning. And it was the first time that I remember calling Barbara up, like, I was really upset. And because I had to talk to her and talk about this stuff, because we just didn't talk for years about any emotional stuff. And I remember telling her, that was the first time I told her that I loved her since I was like 6 or something. So 21, man. And then you think, after you leave the seminar, oh, everything's going to be great now. No, she's like, drives you crazy. 21, 22, 23, 24. I wish I kept going with personal development on that level, but I was still so focused. In the book, that's chapter 2 is discipline. So 12, that age. Chapter 3 is drive, and chapter 4 is commitment. Between 12 to 16, I was completely obsessed with video games. I didn't leave my house, but I still worked out. It's like ridiculous. So it's like, shelve that over there. No one needs to know about my Warcraft character.
Well, why? Because it was enjoyable?
I was complete. That became my identity too.
So
I was totally shut out from the world, pushed all my friends away. Yeah. But drive and commitment, I went from being completely obsessed with that, all in, to then my computer broke, I got a job, and then 6. And I'm 6 jobs in high school. And now now I'm obsessed with bodybuilding at this point. And just drive and commitment with chapter 3 and 4. I'm living in the low frequency emotions. I'm living in desire. I'm living in pride, right? I'm worried about what people think of, like how I look. I'm trying to get my love and satisfaction from things that will never give me them, which are outside things.
Yeah.
How I look, what I drive, what money I make. So I was very, now I'd already been kicked out. Now I'm kicked out of 2 high schools. I got kicked out because I still I didn't care because I was been conditioned growing up to be an entrepreneur. Meaning, I modeled my uncle, and my mom was like, "You're really intelligent. Don't go to school," because she just wasn't a school person. So it's like a weird, like melting pot of confidence and ambition. And the ambition, all those working, all those jobs, all those experiences, all those friggin' books, because she was a reader, my other uncle was a reader.
Right.
I'm always learning and I'm experiencing, and I never listened to her because I didn't respect her. So I made all these damn mistakes. What saved me was I failed so much by 26 successfully. Meaning every time I screwed up, I learned massive amount.
You fell forward.
Massively. So chapter 1, anger, chapter 2, discipline, chapter 3, drive, chapter 4, commitment. By the time I started this business with a mentor of mine, I was still an asshole, man. And I was still after the wrong things. But that was like the last onion that had to be lifted, like peeled at, this is 2-3 years ago, where I went into chapter 5, like coachability and then leadership, chapter 6. And then something happened that changed my whole life, where I realized culture mattered, basically, vision. And then, it's just more onion layers, like the accident, almost losing my arm.
Right.
And even now, not knowing 1,000,000% that I'm going to be able to ever do that again because of the nerves that I have to get another surgery. I'm so blessed because every single thing you can't buy, it's already gone. The time's gone.
Right.
You perceive it, you take it, you grow with it. And that's 13 minutes of my story.
Yeah.
Right.
And you could keep going, and you totally could. But what would you say is, because your story is amazing too, because I've heard a lot of it, especially the accident. If you don't follow Jay, you don't know what really happened. That's a whole other thing in itself.
Yeah. Luckily, we got everything on video from the hospital.
Right.
Like in the car.
Jay has an amazing video
twisted.
of after the accident, actually.
Did you watch that?
A lot of people did.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, man.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. Jay had okay.
I mean,
let's not get it. I don't want. Look, you gotta find it. Go find the video.
It's on YouTube, I think. The accident.
The accident.
Or I could, if you message me, I can send it to you. It's on my
We'll
phone.
have it. I don't know how we'll set
Maybe
this
we'll
up.
set this up.
We'll set this up.
We'll
But,
put this in the video.
It's
That'll be
really,
fun.
really incredible, and it's basically the reaction that he's having in that car is just the mind state.
This is right after the
Right.
1,000-pound ATV side by side just totally severed my elbow from my from the bone. It didn't pierce it, but it was and then my wrist was shattered, my humerus, and I remember it being on me. And Bill, who's a great friend of mine, you'll meet him. He was driving, and he didn't. It was everything was an accident. He got really hurt, like with his tendonitis he's got and all this mess. And he's over me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is really bad. I'm not getting to Vegas in 2 days because I was supposed to go to Las Vegas. And I look back, my arm's under this car, man. I'm thinking, this is not good. But I got to be. It was every day of my life that led up to that moment that I had to be really calm. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, can you lift this off me?
Right.
And he had to somehow get out with the other guy, Bobby, and like lift it off me. And then I get to back in the car to drive to the other car to go to the hospital because I didn't want to get the guy in trouble with his wife. So I was like, I'll just deal with the pain. Let's just go to the hospital. So it was like 40 minutes. And obviously it hurt. But 8 years of personal development got me prepared for that moment to realize that was one of the best things that ever happened for me.
Yeah, incredible. That's that video, that story, that is incredible. Last thing, and then we'll go wrap it up. At what age, because you're 26 now, so at what age would you say you were at growing up adolescent-wise, probably the most insecure, your worst point? How old?
Interesting. So I'll say lowest as in, so it's...
Lost, most lost.
Well, I would actually argue that it's when I got older, even though you think like I fix things like the body and all that stuff. Like at 12, when I started working out and started trying to be better outside, one could argue that's the lowest point. Like I would think that's that's what I would normally think, and then I think really, what? No, it's worse when I was at my height of all the things that didn't matter. Like all the people that chase success as in money and things, their lowest point is when they get it.
Yeah.
Not when they thought they needed it.
Yeah.
So my lowest point was in my early 20s when I really was making money and like thought that I had it.
Yeah.
That's why.
But you were skipping a jump from learning from what you know. I mean, then it became that. Let me ask you, if you're now who you are with the knowledge and everything you have, what would you say to 12-year-old Jay now?
Well, the first thought to him is to read more.
You tell him to read more?
Yeah, because I didn't. Yeah, because all my truth came from thinking. Right, the answer lies within. In Latin, education means educate. The answer lies within. All your self-truths will come from within. We don't put enough new information in our head to have genuine, honest conversations with ourselves. And we take everything for granted. What someone tells us. Think for yourself is the effect of the cause of putting yourself in a thinking state. Everything I am now today is because of the wisdom I've accumulated from those experiences that I've had to unfortunately have, but many, many, many experiences learning from the experiences of others.
So gaining knowledge.
And I get thinking and yeah, because it led me to finding self, and self is like, all right, you're all right. I don't need anybody or anything. I have my truth. You have your truth. I appreciate your truth. None of that is going to happen without seeking the knowledge, because this is not common sense or common knowledge, or it would be common practice. So I would say, read more, learn more, and be curious sooner. That's what I would say to anybody. You want the meaning of life? Okay, if contribution is going to get you happy, because, I mean, we have children. Obviously, you have to contribute to them, so why not anyone else? How can you contribute if you don't cooperate with yourself enough to admit you don't know anything so you can learn? So I would say, Jay, read some fucking books. How do you end that, right? Where's the money?
You take it out.
Culture matters.
Culture matters.
Culture matters. I
Next
appreciate
time.
the interview.